JHK here for the AllStar, and join me right now is undefeated UFC welterweight, the future, Ian Garry. Ian, appreciate the time, man. How you doing?
Good man, thank you for your time. I'm really bloody good. Yeah, no complaints. Life is amazing. I'm just looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
For sure, and you talk about life being amazing. You were in Las Vegas during the Wilder Fury fight. What was the atmosphere like, man? That big fight atmosphere.
Dude, it was actually crazy because obviously we everyone had seen the two fights previous and everyone was humming and hawing about what was going to happen. I was pretty set on Fury winning the fight quite convincingly, but my God, was Wilder there every round, every punch that was thrown. Like anytime that man threw a shot, everyone in the stadium was like, oh, like he wasn't there to win the fight, like to win on points. He was there to put Fury out, and every shot he landed. I think it was in the 10th round, the round before he got finished. He caught Fury with an uppercut just at the end of the round and wobbled him, and we were all just like, oh my God. Like, it was electric. Everyone from the 5th round, they both kind of took a break because one had been knocked down, then Fury got knocked down twice, and they give themselves a little break, reset the balance, and then Fury just took over. But every round, Wilder was there hitting him, cracking him, and it was a brilliant watch. It really, really was, and it was phenomenal. We had a great time.
If you look at Fury, man, he's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, one of the greatest boxers of all time. He's just inspirational, man. Do you take inspiration from his story and his comeback?
Look, anyone who can come back from what he did deserves to be an inspirational person like that. Like, along the fact, like, without going too much into it, like the fact that he had been to such a dark place and then built his way back up and is back on top is special, especially to go from being on top to ending up in this dark place. You can imagine that you've been at the top of the mountain and then you've fallen the whole way down. The climb looks a lot harder to get back up than it did the first time. So the fact that he did it is absolutely sensational, and he deserves everything he's worked for. Do you know what I mean? He's an amazing fighter. He's an amazing person in a sense of everything that he's put himself through to get back on top, and he deserves all the credit. And he is a world champion. He's a champion at heart.
Let's turn the tables to you. Undefeated as a professional, amateur career was stellar. Only one blemish, Clan Wars, 31. Take me back to that fight and the lessons learned from that experience.
Oh, I hate talking about it. I don't like it at all. You're gonna go home. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna shut down this laptop. You're gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fuming for the rest of the day. So let's maybe not talk about it. Give me a second. That was probably the biggest. I want to word this right. The biggest learning point in my career, because that guy wasn't good enough to beat me. He wasn't. He knew it. I knew it. Everyone else knew it. But the reason he beat me was because of me, and me not showing up, me allowing him the room to do stuff. I was like, there's nothing he can do to beat me. He can't beat me on the feet. He can't beat me at grappling. He can't beat me anywhere. But because I did that, I allowed him to get positions going. What can he do? So for me as a young athlete, to learn that, look, everyone has something they can try to do, and everyone's going to try to come out and beat me. I need to go out there and just go, right, this is why I'm better than you. And I need to do it fast, and I need to do it in style. I need to make sure I keep this pretty face the whole time, not get hit. And yeah, I reckon it was the biggest thing in my career, personally, because after that fight, I've absolutely dominated everyone, because I've gone out there with the attitude going, I don't care what he's good at, I don't care what he's bad at, I don't care what he thinks he's going to try to do, I'm going to go out there and put him away, and I'm not going to give him any time. And I've taken that kind of atmosphere into training in general, because the reason I got injured leading up to my world title fight was because I was going easy. And I was with a younger lad, and he was an amateur, and I was like, obviously I'm fighting for a world title. I'm not going to go and smash, like a young amateur. But he done something stupid, popped my knee. Do you know what I mean? I tore my knee because of it. And it was like, it's the same attitude, and I've said this time. If I go slow in life, I feel like things are harder. Whereas if I just go fast, my reactions are so quick that I'll react properly. And if I give myself time to doubt or kind of change anything in my head, situations start to change. Just go with what your gut is and just go as fast as you can. And that's my attitude in life. Just go at it head first as fast as you can. And if you make the right decisions, then happy days. If you make the wrong decisions, change it up and go again.
Fighters, man, they have moments throughout their career that change them. You know, besides the Cage Warriors world title fight, because I know there's a whole long story with that. Has there been other instances that have changed you for the better?
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the loss that I had as an amateur was probably the most. That was the one that I had the most learning to, in the sense of it was one thing, and it was one very simple thing. It was me. Go in there and just do exactly what you're going to do, and don't think about anyone else, and don't let them affect. Like, he was never good enough to beat me, but he beat me because I allowed him to beat me. And I'm never allowing anyone to do that. I'm going to go in there and just smoke people from now on. And that was what I did. That was my mindset. I shifted it. I said, okay, done. Ever since kind of COVID hit, I've been more grateful, more appreciative of what I do, because obviously during the pandemic, Cage Warriors was still able to run and I was still able to fight. And it shows me, well, I am really blessed. I am really lucky to be doing what I'm doing and to be able to live a life where I fight and have fun every day. My days consist of punching my mates in the face and eating good food and having coffee and resting. That's my day. I don't get up and go to a job that I hate. I go to a gym where I'm fit and I'm healthy and I'm training with other inspirational athletes and learning from amazing coaches. And yeah, and another massive thing is since I've been with my missus, she's helped me a lot in the sense of maturing and just growing, and her aspect on life and the way she looks at life has been a massive turning point, because she sees the world in a very similar way that I do, but she's just a hell of a lot smarter than I am. So knowledge helps.
Definitely, man. I know what you're talking about, man. My wife, same thing, man. Same thing.
Yeah.
For
We all,
yourself.
we all,
What's
we all
up?
think we're smart until we find someone we want to spend our life with and go, shit, yeah, she's really smart than I am.
Exactly. Now, you know, you've been very successful. 4 years, I believe, around 4 years. You know, that's all it took for you to get to the UFC. How many more years until you're winning that title?
Good question. I haven't actually thought about that one. People always say to me, you're going to be a UFC champion. I'm like, yeah, I will, in time. In time. There's no rush. Like, there's a couple of questions when people say to me about, being a UFC champion. Like, yes, I am going to get there. Yes, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that I will be a UFC champion. The amount of time it takes me, I don't actually care, to be honest. I want to leave a legacy, and I want to leave a career that's unblemished, where there's no losses, there's no asterisks of dick pills and any of that shit. I want a straight, clean career where people just speak about my fighting and my fight style and my success and the positivity and the inspiration I bring to others. That's what I want. And I feel like whether it be fast or slow, I'm going to have that. So I don't really care. It's going to happen. I'm just thinking about the after effect of when I become champion and when I defend the belt and what the legacy is. That's what I'm thinking about.
With legacy and championship belts and records and undefeated records, you know, you got guys that like Floyd, 50-0, 50, was he 51-0? I don't remember, but you know, he won titles and he chased after the biggest names. He was very smart. And then you guys got guys like, let's say, Khabib, who retired early, but he's unblemished, also won the title, but didn't really chase the big fights. For yourself, what is more prestigious, do you think?
Wow, that's a good question. You're good at this. I like that. That's a good question. So there is an aspect of both that makes sense. However, I will change up what you're saying. I will be the big fight. That is what I'm going to be with all the success and with all the winning and everything that I do in life. I'm going to be that draw as such, as what people say. It doesn't bother me, like, in a sense of fighting, like, it's a good question. I want to word it properly for you. I'm going to be the big draw, and it's a case of winning is the most important thing to me. And every time I step into that cage against any man, and they think they're better than me, I'm going to win every single time. And I'm not going to, that's never, ever, ever going to change. So the bigger the name, great. The bigger the record, great. If he's a world champion in another organization, he wants to come over and try to beat me, amazing. The bigger the spotlight, the brighter I shine. And throughout my career, people are going to see this. I'm giving people a heads up now. It's going to happen. So for me, like, I like what Khabib did, in a sense of, obviously, he says he retired because of his dad not being there, and you got to show nothing but, like, love and respect for his decision, because it's personal to him. If he doesn't want to fight without his father by his side, then no one in the world can make him fight. Like, that's his decision. Floyd was very smart. Like, fought the best guys, maybe not at the prime, but fought the best guys time and time again, and that's fine, because he was absolutely one of the best fighters you've ever seen on this planet at what he did. Absolutely untouchable at times. But his record, when you look back at the list of fighters he's fought, it speaks for itself. Like, the wins he's got are just the best of the best, and he dismantled every single one of them. Every person that tried to take his throne, he beat them. So it'll be both. I'll retire when I'm ready to retire, and I will fight the best fighters, one after another, after another, after another, and I will keep beating them, and I will retain that kind of that throne that I've made, and I'll do it with a smile on my face. And when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. But dude, this is just the start. We've got a hell of a lot of time before we get to that. Like, there's a lot of fights I can imagine before we get to that point.
For sure. Hey, isn't it great that we can, talk about MMA and boxing in the same breath now? Because a few years
Yeah.
back, boxing was looking down at MMA.
No, do you know what? I don't think it should be that way. Like, at the fight, I met a lot of people, and they were kind of asking me, like, why do I do MMA? Like, they don't really see it, and I respect that they don't see it as that they stick to their discipline. I understand that, because that's what they've grown up in. That's like, when I was a kid growing up, boxing was huge. Boxing was massive. There was no MMA. So I mean, like, it was only really when Conor popped in Ireland that UFC and MMA became big. But boxing always was in control. It was always in charge. It was always like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to box, and I woke up, and one of my favorite fights was Pacquiao Hatton. I'll never forget it. I was in my cousin's house, ran down the stairs, main event was on, and it was for, like, I think 2 or 3 minutes. Boom, that short little hook, and Hatton was sprawled out on the Rockstar side. Perfect placement. Rockstar got their money in advertisement that night. Dead center. Hatton was laid out on top of the Rockstar sign. But, like, they were always the big fights. Now it's Conor versus Khabib, or it's Diaz and Masvidal. These are all, like, it's the tides are changing, and I get it. I like, but it should all be one mutual kind of hype. I mean, the better boxing does, the better MMA does, because it's competition, and I don't see why everyone, like, there's enough room for boxing and MMA, and there's a lot of people talking about crossovers. You look at Conor and Mayweather, then you see Anderson Silva move over to boxing. Do you know what I mean? You've got the Paul brothers creating shit. Like, look, the world is huge, and there's a lot of opportunity for everyone if they really want to go after it and take it. It just depends on what the person themselves wants to do and wants to go after. And if people like and enjoy boxing more than they enjoy MMA, fine. If they like both, amazing. Do you know what I mean? But it's opinion at the end of the day. And if your opinion is you prefer boxing over MMA, who am I to argue with you? At the end of the day, there's one thing I can say, and I can guarantee it's like, and boxers, and like when we've been speaking about, like, Woodley over and fighting Jake Paul, it's like, that's all well and good having a boxing fight, having a and see what happens, because we know where that goes. Boxing is one specific element of fighting. MMA is every aspect. Like, it's every element. You can knee, elbow, takedown. Like, there's anything goes. So, but I respect it. So I mean, I love boxing. I grew up boxing. I have a lot of respect for it. I know how hard it is to be a good boxer. So one day we might make the move over to boxing. We'll see. When I'm done with when I've left my legacy, and it's etched in the history books that I'm one of the greatest fighters of all time, I'll move over to boxing and I'll prove how good I am.
Man, you're gonna get your start. UFC 268, NYC, Madison Square Garden. It can't be any more perfect, right? To make your debut.
No, I can't. It's absolutely. It's the perfect way to start a new chapter. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I think about, like, I was only explaining this to someone recently, that, like, I kind of look at my life fight by fight. That's kind of how my life goes. It's like chapter after chapter after chapter. It's like just fight to fight. I feel like I've just finished a book and this is the sequel now. This is where, like, everyone's read the first book and go, oh my God, I can't wait for the second one, where you've just seen the first film and you can't wait for the second. This is it now. This is the big one. This is where it starts with a bang. It will be sensational the whole way through, and it will end just as well as it started.
You said it's gonna start with a bang. How are you gonna perform in this debut?
The best I've ever performed. I've said this before. The bigger the stage, the brighter I shine. And a lot of people don't live up to their full potential on big stages, and it's only the best that really do. I love the spotlight. I love attention. You put me in that cage, you're just going to get a better me, and me with more experience. I say this as well. Every day I'm in the training. I'm training. I'm on the mats. Every week that goes by is more time where people are fucked because they've lost the opportunity to beat me. It's behind me. The Ian that they could have beat was the Ian from last week, because you ain't beating this week, Ian. And then the Ian that comes next week, you're not beating him because he's just getting better and better and better and better and better. And especially now that I'm in Sanford, surrounded by the elite of the elite in coaches and training partners, the world's my oyster right now, and I'm just enjoying every second of every day, and just, yeah, I'm working hard, and I just cannot wait to go into that cage and show everybody why I am the future, why I have all this hype, why I am the biggest thing in European MMA. People are going to find out.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing you perform in front of that UFC crowd November 6th. The future.
Yeah, the future's inevitable.